Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we have another Evolve review. Super late. Now, I honestly am going to just completely blame this one on Tubi. I don't know what was going on with the site. I didn't get a chance to watch it Wednesday when it aired, so I booted it up Thursday morning. Didn't go on. Thursday night wasn't on there. Friday wasn't on there. Saturday was on there, but I couldn't click on it. Sunday, same issue. And then finally, Monday, it took me going around 4 or 5 times. It finally allowed me to watch it. And so I didn't want to miss a review. So this is extremely late, but hopefully, at least it can, find some type of algorithm push to get a couple views because I didn't want to be missing one of these, and we've had such a huge streak of getting them. So let's just jump into it. So we had Callie Armstrong versus Tyra May Steele. Tyra May Steele had already been she's now been released. So that's the problem with having this 3 weeks of shooting time because there's multiple issues that I've had in this episode, especially that I think are going to be addressed later on. But at the moment, they just kind of feel, I don't know, just kind of pointless because of the time jump. But we'll talk about that as we go. But Tyra is still, obviously has been released, so there was really not much of a point for her to win. But honestly, that was her best match in Evolve or NXT, any of them. She really had some pretty good in ring chemistry with Callie Armstrong. I honestly think Callie Armstrong obviously like held together the match and did all that type of stuff, but I really thought this was a great match. If you would have showed me this and then asked, would oh, do you think you should save her from being released? I would have said hell yeah, because before it was like, well, she definitely needs way more training, so it might be better for her to go somewhere else if they're not going to give her those opportunities in WWE. But seeing that match, I was like, hey, that's a big step forward. I think her problem always was that she just played such a good like babyface with her moveset and all the things that she was trying to do, but they kept wanting her to be a heel and do heel things, but it just felt forced and kind of uncomfortable with her character, so it just never really worked out. I put this match as solid B. It was Callie Armstrong's last match. It's an end of an era because she's like one of the OGs, from episode one and all that, going up to NXT. I really think will be good for her. I am a little afraid with her not having like a spot defined in NXT because like it's like a really just wild west right now because they're trying to build some stars. So somebody is going to get a big shot, and she needs to be in line for that because she's definitely in that cusp of like she could really put herself over and do something here. So I'm kind of excited to see what she does in NXT, and we should have at some point, maybe in a couple, I don't know about a couple episodes, but a couple weeks from now, or maybe even a month or two, we should look at some of the people that got called up and see how their run's going up there, and seeing it compared to their Evolve run. Then we had a cool segment from Itzgall. I say it's cool because it's actually pretty entertaining to like have him in like his segments. I honestly think he's one of those characters that has like a very big limitation of like what he can do with it, but he just knocks it out of the park each time. And I feel like if they just kind of gave him a better shot of like being out there in some type of main event scene, I think he would do pretty solid with it. He's pretty competent in the ring, nothing too crazy. His character is pretty top tier. It has like definitely a shelf limit if he's not careful with it because at first it was just saying his name, but I think like he's really got into like different assets of it. So I really am excited to see what he can do. I just feel like he never really quite gets the push. So that's kind of unfortunate. But I like the segment. I thought it was good at least to get him on the show and kind of puts him in that area for hopefully some feuds with this new, heel group. And then speaking of the heel group, they attacked what is it? Romero. Is it Romero or Romeo? I always forget exactly what his name is because all I could remember is his name in Europe and stuff. And now that he's using something different, I just keep forgetting against Starboy Chaz. Now, honestly, I really wanted to see that match. Like, I know this is supposed to be for the feud and all that, but I really wish we would have got something from this match and actually got to see it because, man, that kind of sucked. And then them coming down, especially Mike Cunningham and now Mike Abrams or whatever, it was just so awkward. The music cut weird. They were kind of just standing around, and I don't really know what happened there, but there was definitely a big drop, and it kind of lost a lot of aura in my eyes because of that. Honestly, I mean, a heel group like that is going to be, pretty decent. They're kind of just a copy and paste of the original, like ID talent type, well, not ID talent, but they had the PC talent people. So having two heel factions based off of just where they come from kind of feels pointless, but I guess that's what they kind of have to do with the limited storyline that they have, and now they have a lot more ID guys than PC guys, so it makes sense to then kind of flip the switch. But I mean, I guess we'll see how that goes. Starlight Chaz has already had an NXT match. I could really see him. I really, other than that 6-man tag match next week, I could see him just being on NXT after that. I think it kind of works too perfectly. He's just way too ready. He does not need to be on Evolve. I think I said that last time. I put this whole segment in Finn. I think I'd put it in a C just because I kind of disappointed that I didn't even get like 5 minutes of that match or even a couple minutes. And I feel like they kind of, whatever audio issues or issues of them starting when they needed to, whatever happened there really killed the rest of that segment. So I'll put it in C just because we do get a nice 6-man out of it, which is what we'll talk about next, but it definitely could have gone better. But speaking of that, later in the show, the baby faces get together and decide that they need to do something about it, with Cappuccino Jones leading the charge. I like Cappuccino Jones. He's one of the few that I feel like just needs that opportunity to do something. The problem with having Aaron Rourke as the champion, you kind of feel like a heel's gonna dethrone him. So he's kind of out of that picture. I mean, obviously you could do whatever you want if you did like a triple threat or whatever you wanted to do, but I feel like they're kind of waiting for like a big heel to get that momentum to take him out. So I feel like Cappuccino Jones is just kind of always the guy in waiting. I really feel like they should have pulled that trigger when he had the match with Jackson Drake. I think that's what they should have done. And then if they did the flip later, it could have been a lot better. But again, I mean, it's just hindsight, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, you would hope that way a lot of the other guys went, like everybody else has gotten opportunities that were in that original episode of Evolve. They either, obviously, some of them got released or just not on the shows anymore, but the majority of them are the people that got to NXT or AAA or a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, speaking of AAA, Drake Monroe will probably be off this show too because he got moved over to AAA, so that's another big character gone, which they were kind of cooking with him, and he was undefeated. I really feel like they could have done something with him. It wasn't like my super favorite guy or did anything super crazy, but he had enough momentum that I think the way that they built him up as being like undefeated and kind of being like the good guy could have definitely worked in a lot of this storyline, but we won't see the rest of that. But this 6-man I think will be pretty solid. Get to see what this new faction does. I'll put it up in A tier for the time being. Then we get Tristan Angles. He has a look to him. Like I just feel like his character and his just overall appearance, I think, is kind of champion material. He kind of has that look where he could be like obviously super arrogant to be a heel, but he could also be very charming and be a baby face. I think he has something there. I don't know exactly what it is, but I've noticed like when he was in AAA and had that match over there and the few times he's on this show, I think he has it. I think he's just one of those guys that has that package together that if they give him the right, booking and stuff, he could actually be a really good guy. So I don't know. I'll put it up at A. The segment itself was just kind of normal. I don't think they really gave him much to say or do in that, but it definitely intrigued me to be like kind of looking at this guy that there's a good possibility if he could really improve his in-ring work and just a little bit slight help on the mic and stuff. I really do think he could do something crazy. Then we had a tag match. It was Anya Rune and was it Carrara against Mason Holiday and Layla Diggs. Layla Diggs finally brought back that axe kick that she with the leg drop kick thing. What do they call it? Axe handle? I think that, or God, I don't even remember now. She finally brought that back from her first match. I don't know why she just decided to sideline that thing. The thing is great. It makes all the matches better. Honestly, they had a lot of unique offense. Carrara with that split choke thing was pretty good. I think Anya probably had like the worst like showing of like she did, but she did a really good job selling, and overall she took everything really good and pretty solid. Like sometimes you kind of get that greenness, but I feel like she did pretty good with that. And then Mason Holiday kind of like changed up her style, it feels like, and I think it's I think they could get something from that. So I think overall this was a pretty good hopeful tag match that I felt all four women in it did pretty good. I really can't complain too much about it. I think I'd put it in B. I do think the match itself maybe suffered a little bit from not having a lot of time, but I feel like overall for what the match was for, I think it succeeded. I mean, if you really look at it, they basically got four women out there, all got some decent sides to sell themselves out there, and they all did really good with it. So it should help them out. And Layla Diggs, please do that kick every single time. I don't care. It's not her finisher, so like she needs to do that. This is insane that I have to keep saying that. It is kind of one of those moves that like not a lot of people use, and it just looks good the way she does it. And I think if she continues to do that and does other stuff, because if she can do something like that and then bounce it into a finisher, like dude, an axe kick, like some type of like spin or like roll into maybe like a mega stomp or some crap, or I don't know. There's something that could really happen there that could be really good. I just feel like she's on that cusp of like putting stuff together, and that is the key, is that move. Then we had a segment with Wendy Chu and Laney Luck. This is why Wendy Chu was the perfect person to put the championship on, because she just has that commanding presence of being like really in ring ready, that whoever she faces, I think she can really elevate the whole division of being like, even if she steamrolls and beats a lot of these women, whoever they choose and decide to take Wendy Chu out at some point, that person will automatically be a megastar. It was kind of how they did with Callie Armstrong. They built Callie Armstrong up so well that when Kendall Gray took her out and took the title off of her, it just propelled Kendall even further than like Armstrong ever got. It was just, that's how it kind of works. And Wendy Chu's like that. This could be really good for her. Could really get her back to NXT to show what she can do. And then the minute that they decide to take the belt off of her, whoever beats her, I just think that's going to be a slingshot. Like that's going to be somebody's going to propel into like the next dynasty, person there. So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll just have her drop it randomly to like Nikita Lyons or something. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited to see what this happens. I think this match will be okay. I'm still not really sold on Lady Luck. She's not had any good Evolve matches. I have seen her in the Independence. She is a lot better there. I don't know what it is with whatever they have for Evolve, but she's definitely not shown up there. So I'll put it in B. Then we had these two random guys that were like security but wanted to join the show, or they wanted to join the show and they put them as security, I think. It has, I'm pretty sure the guy in the middle, it was their big Saudi signing. I actually don't know these two. I feel like I've missed them at some point. So I don't know. I was kind of confused. Thatcher, I think, is a decent, foreman or GM. I think his main issue is just like they kind of put him in this awkward thing because they brought him in there for what he said, and half the stuff had already happened. I think that should have been at the front of the show, and I think that was just an editing thing, but I could be wrong about that. I feel like it just kind of felt like it was pointless for this segment other than to introduce these two new guys. So I'll put it in D. It was just kind of a throwaway thing. This one I wanted to just put mainly up here is why Braxton Cole was reading this book back here, because it just made him look like he's trying to figure out how to read back there. So I'm going to put that at a D tier, because it's just like, why do they have this? This isn't making him look like he's intellect. It looks like he's just like struggling. Like, this is what words are? What the hell? I don't know any of this. I'm going to just try to put this book up. They said I'd look smart, but yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Then we get to the main event. It was the triple threat for the title. Obviously, I felt like there was no way that Aaron Rourke should lose this. I mean, that's the only problem by putting Harlem Lewis in here. I feel like they should have just done Braxton Cole, because, like, Aaron Rourke beating Braxton Cole clean would just kind of there we go, and then have somebody, then you'd have Harlem Lewis at some point ready to go. I feel like it just kind of felt like you're killing two heels for the price of one here, and I just felt like they didn't necessarily need to do that. It wasn't like it was the worst thing, but I definitely think something else could have happened. I don't know. I really just think that they could have done something else here. But it was a solid title defense. We had some shenanigans afterwards, but overall, I think it was just a pretty solid title defense. I put it in B. I mean, I think all the matches were pretty solid. I really do like the women's tag match. Again, I really feel like if you were looking at like the technical standpoint and like didn't put any of the entertainment value into it, I feel like you would probably rate it a little bit lower. But I don't know. I just kind of really enjoyed the moves, and it really felt like a progressing match. Like I really feel like all of them took a step forward, which sometimes doesn't always happen on Evolve, where one person outshines everybody else, or that the match just happens and it does nothing for either person. But all four of them, I think, did pretty good, especially being a makeshift tag team. Like you lose there, it's not that big. Plus, Carrara got mad at Anya at the end of it, which could set up at least a match between them two. And you like to see those type of little just threads, something where, hey, there is some reason why we had that. That's what Callie Armstrong did with her stuff. She was mad at her tag team partner, and she went from there and went, it just went so much other places. So I'm excited to see that. I think I put the show overall as a solid B. It was entertaining. I really wish I could have saw this when it came out. I feel bad for it being late because I actually thought it was a pretty good episode, and I thought I had some pretty decent stuff to say about it, but it's going to be buried a little bit. So if you like this, please like and comment and subscribe. I mean, at least the like and the comments, even if you just say good job or something in the bottom, just so maybe this will get out to a couple extra people to help with it being late. But until next time, this has been Japan, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys.